We'll see. There it is. I think we're live. Yes, we are live, and I've got Latoya Dixon here with me, and we've been chatting for the last 8 minutes because I keep forgetting that we were supposed to be live, and I'm asking you questions, and I'm going to make you tell me the answers all over again because we were just having a good time talking. So first off, thanks for coming live with me and leading the awesome mastery chat tonight. How are you feeling after the chat?
I'm really excited, honestly, to go back and read some of the responses. It was quite a task keeping up. I've hosted several chats, but I felt like that it was some really good engagement. I was really moved by the honesty and authenticity in some of the responses.
Well, I really thought the questions just set that up really, really nice. I was looking at them beforehand, and I was just thinking, man, this is going to be one of those chats where everyone digs deep, and that's what I saw the whole time. And so, yeah, one of my favorite things is always to go back and read all the answers because you can't possibly see them all. So you go back and have the engagement and stuff like that. That's I really enjoy that. So I asked you this prior to getting on, but I should have hit go beforehand. But can you share for anyone who maybe hasn't been connected with you or is just connecting you maybe through the chat tonight, where you're at, what your own education is, and then I actually wouldn't mind if you kind of sharing sort of your journey to where you are now. I thought was really cool. So would you mind doing that for us?
Sure. So I live in South Carolina, a small town, 20 minutes south of Charlotte, North Carolina, and grew up here, went to Clemson, got my undergrad in English and secondary education, and said I would never, ever come back here. I was going to move away. I was a young kid. Teach at the beach sounded like fun, but I came back, stayed in Rock Hill for 14 years where I served as an English teacher. I taught 8th grade English and 7th grade English in the same middle school for several years, became an assistant principal. I had a really quick journey to the principalship. I was an administrative intern for 1 year, an assistant principal for a semester, and became principal of my old elementary school. That was really fun.
Cool. That's neat.
I got to boss around some people that used to be teachers when I was a kid. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. It was fun. I did work with some of my teachers.
You don't have to be joking about that. We all get it.
Some of my friends, and I was there for 7 years, just about. And my superintendent at the time left the district and went to North Carolina, Dr. Lynn Moody, and I went with her and worked in a middle school and got to do a co-principalship with one of my greatest friends in the world, Michael Wakesness. He and I do my podcast together, and did that for a few years, and then was recruited to go to the South Carolina Department of Education and direct the Office of School Transformation, where I developed the state's transformation coach program. I managed about $80 million, all of the improvement work, wrote the state's school improvement framework, did that for almost 4 years, and was ready to embark on a district leadership position. I earned Jeff, I didn't tell you this. So I got my undergrad at Clemson. I have a master's, a specialist, and a PhD from the University of South Carolina. But I am not a Gamecock. I am a Tiger.
You're a Tiger, but you were at USC. Like my brother went to USC upstate. You were at USC, like the main, right?
Columbia.
Because they're like connected, but they have different mascots. It was always confusing for me when my older brother was at upstate. But that's okay. But you're a Tiger, not a Gamecock. So, that's all right.
I had a great opportunity to come back and serve right here at home in York School District 1, where I am now the director of early childhood, elementary, and gifted education, which is sort of misleading because I do a lot of other things. We're a rural district with about 5,200 students, 1 high school, 1 middle school, 5 elementaries with 1 intermediate school. I've been there for 6 months, and I am working in this reopening, and I am loving every minute of it. I'm enjoying my job. So that's sort of been my journey. I always feel like I'm a teacher at heart. I was excited to get an opportunity to experience a district leadership position. That was the one thing I didn't have yet. And I think maybe one day I might want to be a superintendent. So I think that is appropriate.
You've done like everything else. You might as well, right? I mean,
I don't know about might as well, but it could happen.
That's true. That's a cool journey. Getting to go back and lead the school that you went to school in is such a cool. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah, it
How
was
long
real
were you
cool.
at that? How long were you at the elementary school that you
I
were?
was actually there 6.5 years. I became a principal in the
Okay.
middle of the school year in like January, but I like to say 7 because it felt more like 10. You know how principals age in dog years. So, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. We did great work together. I loved every minute of it. It was a lot
Very
of
cool.
fun.
Very cool. Hi, Livia. Hi, Kate. Hi, Becky. See you there. I see a bunch of other people watching, just not commenting. I'm sorry. I'm looking down on another screen. I have one of the other because we're all over the place. We're on our Facebook page. We're in our Facebook group. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on
Cool.
Twitch right now. So we're all over the place. So let's go. Let's talk about the chat. I thought just very powerful questions that engage people. I think that we talked beforehand. It was just great to see the reflection going on, the honesty going on. And I love and so proud like that this community of the Master Chat community, they have that space where they feel safe enough to do that, right? To express themselves, to call themselves out, to reflect. And I thought that was really powerful tonight. When you were putting together these questions, what were you sort of what was going through your head? What were you really hoping that everyone coming into the chat was going to be able to walk away with today? What was that sort of, did you have a goal in mind? Maybe you didn't, but did you have a goal in mind? I really hope to take these things away.
Well, my ultimate goal was to get to the point where we maybe could get folks to commit to action. I've been blogging a lot about some of the things that have been happening in our country, the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others. I have a series on my blog that is inspired by the Hemingway quote, write hard and clear about what hurts. Last summer, I was on vacation in Nova Scotia, and I met Robin McNeil from the McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour. And Robin was very inspirational in talking to me about writing. And in our discussion, I told him, I love to write. I have a blog. I've written one book. Hope to write another one soon. And I said, what advice would you give me? He said, Latoya, write from the inside out. Write about what you feel and make it raw. And I found that in the pain that I've experienced with the death of George Floyd, the racism that's happening in our country, it has really just brought out some of my best writing. So I've been trying to write hard and clear about what hurts. And in those questions, they really came out of that blog series. So I have 5 blog posts related to that series. And those are the same things that I post to myself. And I'm trying to answer myself. And so I find that when I pose the right questions, I can get to the core of what the issues are, the root, and get beyond the surface and really get people to think deeply and feel deeply. And I think that's what it's going to take for change. And so that was my goal. Yeah.
When you said that the think deeply and then the feel deeply, 2 things. One, like I felt you feel when you said the word feel and that emotion, which I noticed I think in a lot of the answers and what people were saying is that it's gotta go beyond just saying things or just thinking things or just agreeing with things. It's got to get to an emotional level. And I think for me, I feel like this moment in time has gotten more emotional for more of us. And that's why it feels a little bit different than some of the times that we've seen, these, the tragedies that do get picked up by the media and people hang on to them for a little bit and then they tend to unfortunately fade away. And I feel like this is stronger right now because I feel like people were feeling a little more emotional. And I don't know why it didn't happen before, but that gives me hope to see that. And I saw that in the chat a lot. A lot of people talking about it's got to be emotional. You got to feel it. You got to be able. It's got to come from inside there. And I felt that a lot in this chat. Did you feel that that people did come away with what you were hoping for? That people were committing to that action? That people were getting that message?
I did feel that, and I'm hopeful that I will continue to see that from folks. I know I'm going to keep writing about it. I think it was important for us to start with an acknowledgement of what the obstacles are that prevent folks from being courageous and then move towards solutions. How do we remedy that? How do we get past our fear of being ridiculed or not included or losing our privilege and power? How do you get people past that? And so moving to conviction, I think, requires action. And so I did feel that people were moved in that way. I'll tell you, I think the power in conviction is that it won't allow you to not act.
Mm.
And it takes more than courage and conversation. It is a combination of courage, conversation, and conviction. And I think it's something we can all relate to, even if it's not related to talking about anti-racism. We've all felt convicted when we maybe were on a diet and we cheated and ate a burger. I shouldn't have done that. I need to do better. We felt convicted when maybe we said something to a friend that maybe rubbed them the wrong way or hurt their feelings, and we didn't intend for that to happen. And we've gone back and said, I really need to apologize for that. That was not my intention. I'm really sorry. And I'm committed to trying to do better. I believe conviction is something that is rooted in our heart and in our soul, and it doesn't allow us to deny what we know is right. So I did feel that folks were able to commit. I'm hopeful that conversation will continue. I think what's different about this time, I think there are a lot of similar patterns. Jeff, I think sometimes people forget that resistance to equity and justice has always been around. I've listened to people talk about the protests and riots, and it's almost as if they've forgotten when folks used to use hoses and dogs and billy clubs on people who were protesting. That violence has been present for a long time in a lot of different formats. But resistance to equity is not new. It's not new. But what gives me hope are young people. Young people are in a place where they are not willing to live in a world that I grew up in, that my mother and father grew up in. They won't change, and they're not going to wait on us to make it happen. And so my mother used to say, every generation gets wiser. And I believe that we're on the path to real change, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that is exciting there. Was there a particular question that you were maybe, I don't want to say more excited about, but maybe more excited about, more interested in, more wondering that you were excited to see what the answers were, or interested to see what the answers were? Was there any question that you could think of that they can pull out?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was question 2. I believe it was question 2. Hang on a second. Do you mind if I take a look?
Yeah, I think it was the one that it was about the obstacles.
No, it was the one about what causes folks to not speak up. Or maybe it was the obstacles.
Yeah. What are the obstacles that prevent individuals from?
Yes, I was really interested in that because I'm always curious as to why folks feel comfortable privately supporting but not publicly addressing things, and what gets in the way of that, and really getting to the root of that. And I find that often people say, well, it's fear. And when you try and get them to get to talking about, well, what are you fearful of? Often it's fearful of loss of an inauthentic relationship anyway, or fearful of being left out, being a part of the marginalized group, because you're no longer a part of groupthink. Peer pressure is something that doesn't end when adolescence transforms into adulthood. It happens forever. But what I think more times than not is folks maybe aren't ready or willing or able quite yet to recognize or to acknowledge that there is a level of advantage and power and privilege that they're not willing to relinquish. And so I'm always interested in how do I get people to get to the core of what's holding them back. There's a quote I've tweeted out many times, and I've put it in my blog, and I believe it. And it says, we're either held hostage by our fear or made free by our courage. I choose freedom. Because I believe that we can't live our true, authentic lives or be our true, authentic selves if we allow fear to permeate what we do every day, how we interact with others, what we believe in, and how we live out our truths.
Yeah, I love how you started with the fear of losing that inauthentic relationship anyway. I think, and there's definitely a fear there. That was one of the things that held me back, was this fear of, if I start speaking up, will I discover what I maybe already thought was true about certain people? And I did. And there's part of that was, man, that I really was hoping I was wrong. But you used the word about being freedom. There's a little bit of that that's kind of there is some freeing nature of going, yeah, I've kind of felt that. Now I know. Now I can.
Yeah.
I need
And
to cut that relationship.
one thing I think is important to remember, I was having a conversation with a coworker. He and I have been friends for 20 years, and we now work together again. We talk together. We started teaching together. It's kind of cool. And we were having this same conversation, and he mentioned to me, and I think it's so important, somewhere in our conversation, we have to remember that people can change.
Mm-hmm.
People can change. People's hearts can change. Things can change. Life can change people. Life changes people all the time. So even though I know you were disappointed, I hope you will continue to believe that people can change. People do change.
And I agree with you. And that's my hope, is that maybe something I say gets there, yep, or helps them. Right. I think there's another level of fear that I know I had for a while is this fear of, if I reflect this deeply, am I going to find out I'm not as good as I thought I was? And that took me a little bit to get over, to go, yeah, but if it doesn't matter whether I find out or not, if I'm not there, I'm not there. So it's better to find out and have that uncomfortable moment, try and grow. And I'm still well into that. I'm nowhere near remotely where I need to be, but I'm trying, we're trying. A lot of us are just saying that we're trying to learn, trying to grow. I know I also had a fear. I've had a fear a long time of just not knowing enough, which I talk to, colleagues, friends, family, and it's a lot of it. You don't have to know it all, as long as you're willing to continue to try and learn, right? And change, like you said, right? People I can change too, right? I'm trying to change. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to learn. And so that was definitely that fear as well. So I think that's what I saw in the answers, was a whole lot of fear of a few of those different things. And a lot of
there are two important points I want to make really quick. One, when you talked about how being reflective kind of meant you might find some things about yourself that made you uncomfortable. James Baldwin is my favorite writer of all time. I have tried to read everything he's written, and I'm not done. I haven't read everything. And he has a quote, and he says, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once it is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. I think that's true. I think that's true on a lot of levels. And the second thing that I thought about when you talked through fear and the response, and the thing I don't think people always understand is that fear is an illusion. Fear is our anticipation of what could be, what might be, our anxiety around what might happen, but it's not real. I mean, it is a real emotion, but it is the stories we make up in our head, that drives our fear. And I have worked really hard in my life to handle fear appropriately, understanding that although I feel it, it doesn't mean that it's real.
That's such an incredible way to look at fear. I've never thought through it that way, of like, it is.
And my mother, when I was growing up, I grew up really poor. My mother was a single parent. I'm also the youngest of three. I have two sisters. We all went to Clemson. Go Tigers. They're not educators, but they're great people. But, when we were growing up, my mother would always tell us, because she didn't go to college, but she always told us we were going, and she pushed us really hard to do things she had never done before. And she would say to us, whatever you do, never allow fear to stop you from doing anything. And so many people live a life of hostage. And not even just about things like anti-racism. They just are fearful of being themselves, of saying they don't like a food at dinner and eating it anyway. There's a polite way to say, I don't care for any, thank you. With a nice smile. I mean, it's a real issue, I think. But that's been an incredible part of my journey, dealing with fear in a healthy way. Yeah.
I think that's really, I'm still stuck on the way you described that. It's just hit me. And I also just stuck on the fact that you threw out some Harold Melvin at us too, which is Blue Notes. I love that. I was like,
I love old music. Well, I don't know if it's old music. I love old Motown and soul music.
We'll call it
I love
older.
all kinds of music.
We're not going to call it old. We'll call it older.
I love all kinds of music. So when I was a kid, my mom had a record player, and when my parents were married before they divorced, she said they would, purchase records all the time. So we had all these records in the house, and we would play them. And I learned all this music, and I love music. I listen to music every day. I especially listen to it when I'm feeling down, spirit, it needs an uplift, or just to pick me up. It's very important in my life.
Yeah. Me too. Music has always been that way. Actually, in a past life, I actually owned and operated a record label, and that's sort of where I started a lot of my business stuff. I just something about it can heal you like nothing else, in my opinion. So.
Oh yeah.
And that I don't want to call it old. The older like Motown souls, just
classic.
Oh yeah.
I have a very diverse music taste. I like just about every genre of music except for heavy metal.
See, I'll let you go there. I used to always joke, if you looked at my CDs, you get everything from like Beethoven to Marilyn Manson to Compton's Most Wanted and like Death Row to Bush or Matchbox. Like I've always been that way. I just even if it's not the thing I might go to, I appreciate it. Like, so even like a really like speed metal or black metal, like I might not go there and listen to it much, but I appreciate like the skill it takes. And same thing, like, someone who can flow, when it comes to hip hop or rap, like even if it's not necessarily my style, I don't necessarily like get on a beat or whatever. Like if they can flow, just like the talent it takes to write it. Same thing with like a great guitar solo. I
may or may not have that skill.
What skill? You rap? Are you about to rap for us right now? Is that about to happen?
But I was in a rap group in college, and I do have a channel on SoundCloud under a pseudonym, which I will not tell.
Oh, come on. Will you share a secret with me? I won't tell anybody else.
No, maybe off the air.
How did you?
I'm a writer. Rap is writing. It's poetry. So I love.
What did you rap about? What was the?
I still make music for fun as a hobby, but all kinds of things, everything.
You're full of surprises.
Anything you can feel, I can.
I love it. I'm gonna find it. It is now my life's mission to track that down.
Good luck to you.
I'm gonna do some digging. I'm gonna find it somewhere. Someone's gonna come out. There's a fan somewhere that loves your music, and they're gonna catch me somewhere on social. I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna find it. Now that's really cool. Do you play instruments? Do you have any instruments that you play? Now you got me thinking.
No, I don't play any instruments. I did band for 1 year or 2 years in middle school. I played sports in high school and in middle school. I played basketball all my life, and 2 years of clarinet. And I was like, no, Mom, band's not for me. And so she let me drop out. I'm a dropout.
When you rap, did you make the beats and stuff too, or
no? I usually purchase them or rent them. I just write the lyrics and perform. So
gotcha. All right. Yeah. We have a whole nother conversation we have to have at some point.
I don't think that's like aligned with like the mission of Mastery Chat.
Not really. I'm sorry. I know. I do this. I told you beforehand. I started talking and I forgot that we were supposed to go live. Well, then you do something like that, and I get caught up in trying to talk to you about it. But so let me. We are at 31 minutes. I don't want to keep you forever. So I want to thank you. Like this really was I thought a really great show. I know we kind of got way off topic at the end there, but I just love the fact that we could just talk like that. That's great. Even if you are a Clemson Tiger. But anyway, really, really thankful for you. And I really do think we've seen it in the comments, and I saw a lot of people talked about it prior to, because we put the questions out beforehand, that the questions were laid out in a way that allowed us to reflect, allow us to feel like we could, and that was going to be a conversation, and the conversations were being had. I thought it was really great. I'm just super appreciative of you, your leadership with us tonight and the questions. And I hope you'll continue to connect with us and engage with us and grow and learn with us and be a part of it. So any last words for everybody?
First, thank you for asking me to be a part of your chat. And I participate in chats often. I've been very busy working on reopening of school in our district. But I was glad to be a part. And my last words would be, there's this thing that I believe in called the power of one. And it's that we can change the world with one action, one conversation, one relationship. And so I would just encourage everybody not to be discouraged by everything you see, but to recognize that there are times when we're making a difference and don't see it and don't get to watch how it manifests itself. But by operating under the power of one, if we just help one person, we are doing good work. And so it's about something bigger than ourselves, right? So keep at it. Don't give up. And as I always say at the end of my podcast, on the end of any blog I write, be you, be true, be a hope builder.
Oh, I love it. Take all that, everyone. Thank you for jumping on, watching us, commenting, participating in chat. We'll see you next week. Latoya, if you can hang on, I'm going to end our live feed, but I want to talk to you real quick before we jump off. Appreciate all of you. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.